So this song is called Om Shanti. So please sing it with me. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Peace inside the earth, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside the earth, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om.
Thank you. I love that song. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity of Tacoma. I'm so glad you decided to join us this morning. My name is Reverend Lori Irwin Johnson, and I use the pronouns she and her. And if you've been here before, I'd like to welcome you back. And if you've never been here before and decided to check us out this morning, we're so glad you decided to, because we are in the throes of Faith in Action. And if you don't know what Faith in Action is, it is a yearly focus on a specific topic or book. And we do all kinds of things from art to lots of music and book study and all of that. So it's a really big thing. It's something we've been doing at Unity of Tacoma for years and years and years. And so we continue as we go through Faith in Action. We are on week number 2. And we always have a theme color, and our theme color today is indigo. So indigo to me is a really dark blue, and I believe that's what it is, but I think everybody has a different translation of what indigo is. It's kind of a vague color. So it is bluish. So we're looking at bluish today. I'd like to introduce our musical guest here, Stephen Plummer. Yay! So excited to have her with us today and to have her sing with us. We have some exciting things coming up. We're going to be doing a message, of course, and we're going to do take a little pause today and to bless all of our animals for St. Francis Day. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So as we begin with Faith in Action, I wanted to talk a little bit about the book that we're reading. And this is the book by Carl McColman, The Mystical Path to a Joyful Life, or The Eternal Heart is the name of the book. And it is a great book. It has got really easy chapters, and we're just going right through it. We had our first book study this week, and I had a lot of people there. And so I was really excited to have that and have the conversation. And it always goes in a way that I never expect. That's what I love about when we let Spirit guide us. We're able to talk about the things that are relevant to us. So it was really great. If you are interested in learning about how to be part of that book study, I'll let you know a little bit later in our announcements. I'd like to start off our service today, though, with a prayer for protection. If you know the prayer for protection, please say it with me. If you're unfamiliar with it, the words will be on the screen for those of you who are online, and for those of you in the room that need it, there is a handout in the back. So let us pray. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And let's just take a moment to sit. Today, we are going to get in touch with the part of us that is quiet. The part of us that we sometimes avoid with the busyness of our lives. Today, we're going to get silent. Get in touch with that part of us where there's no noise or any sound that distracts us, just that part of us that is at peace in a space of quiet. And as we move through this service, we open our hearts and our minds to what it means to embrace silence in our lives. What does that mean to get quiet? Everyone has a different idea of what quiet is. But today we're going to get into a space that's comfortable, yet maybe pressing the boundaries of what we feel is something we want to do. Because not everyone likes to get silent. So as we get into this new place, this place of quiet contemplation, when we're together, we are open, we are willing, and we are grateful for our time together. And so it is. Amen. All right, I'm going to have Stephen come back for another song, and then we'll come back for our message.
In the silence, I find God's peace. In the silence, I find release. In the silence, joy's all around. In the silence, love can be found. Resting, resting, I'm resting in the silence of God. Resting, resting, I'm resting in the silence of God. In the silence, I find God's peace. In the silence, I find release. In the silence, joy's all around. In the silence, love can be found. Resting, resting, I'm resting in the silence of God. Resting, I'm resting, I'm resting in the silence of God. In the silence, I find God's peace. In the silence, I find release. In the silence, joy's all around. In the silence, love can be found. Resting, resting, I'm resting in the silence of God. Resting, Resting, I'm resting in the silence of God.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Our affirmation for today is very appropriate and goes excellent with that song. I surrender to the silence between moments. I surrender to the silence between moments. Say it with me. I surrender to the silence between moments. And our reading for today is from the book, The Eternal Heart, the one that we are studying right now. And it reads, after every single one of those heartbeats, 42 million beats of your heart per year, your heart takes a rest. After every contraction of cardiac muscle that sends blood coursing throughout the body, your heart takes a rest. It may only be for a fraction of a second, but in that tiny moment, your heart is silent. Then another beat, and another rest, and so on over all the days of your life. Like the silence between them, the heartbeats themselves are also gifts. Our first heartbeat emerges from silence, and then, at the moment of death, the final beat yields itself into the silence of eternity. Thus, every single heartbeat over the course of a lifespan is embraced by silence. The gift of silence is there before the beginning and remains even beyond the end. Silence is the chalice that holds the wine of our heart's pulsing effort. Life is lived with and in between every heartbeat. Just as silence fills the space between each pulse, so silence rests between every thought that we think. For some of us, it may be easier to access the silence in the heart even more than in the silence of the mind. In our spiritual lesson, I have two of them today. The first one is from Father Thomas Keating. And if you're unfamiliar with Thomas Keating, he was a contemplative Christian and very progressive. And he in the Contemplative Society had started a movement of contemplative prayer, and that they were doing, and they were bringing the Christian movement into a contemplative space, which I thought was really wonderful. And they continued to do that even after his death. And so I'm really excited to be able to bring this to you today. He used to say, silence is God's first language. Everything else is just a poor translation. And then we have Matthew 5:5, which is the beatitude that he's talking about in the book this time. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Now, in the book, he talks about what meek means from the Greek standpoint, not from our modern idea of what meek is. We believe meek is small and maybe weak. But in Greek translation, the Greek word, it means that there is a gentle strength. So meekness comes, he says, not from being weak, but from knowing how true strength has a quality of tenderness and mildness. It is a heart-centered, compassionate strength rather than a more brittle kind of strength that sees everything in a dualistic way. So it means that we are strong. We are a quiet strength. We are pushing out our strength and our energy from a quiet space, from the space of silence. So we are continuing with chapter 2, which it does focus on silence, of course. And I brought to my attention, or to my memory, a story about my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was one of 14 brothers and sisters, so she had 13 brothers and sisters. And she lived on a farm in North Dakota. And if you notice that I have a little bit of North Dakota in how I say that, it's because I come from a long line of North Dakota, and that's how they say it there. Okay? So my kids give me such a bad time about that. North Dakota. Anyway. And so she always talked about working on the farm and how she was just as strong as all the boys And it was very important to her. And they were always so busy, and there were always so many kids around. And and also too, she could drive the horse and buggy better than any man ever. That's what she would tell me all the time. So when she was on the farm, she was just as strong and just as capable and just as able as the boys on the farm. That was a very important message, so I wanted to share that with you because, it's important. So, but I know that she worked really, really hard. They worked hard on the farm. And originally when they first moved there, or when she was born, they lived in a sod house. So if you know what a sod house is, it's a house that has sod or grass as your roof. So you can live on the North Dakota plain, and it is cold in the winter. And so they were some hardy people, and my grandmother came from some hardy stock. So she had a really large family, and so there was always people around. And not only just her family, but there was extended family. And so there was just always family around, and they all lived in this community in North Dakota. Now, she had a really hard shell, as you can imagine. So she was a little gruff. She could be, when you talked to her, she kind of had an edge about how she spoke to us. And I remember that she was kind of stern, kind of just didn't really want to have a conversation. She wanted to just say what she had to say and then move on. But she lived in North Dakota, and she got married there, and she had her children there. She had my mother and her two sisters, and they moved to California when the girls were about teenage ages. And then they lived in California until my grandfather passed away, and then my grandmother moved up here to be where my mother and my father lived and us girls. So that was when I was a teenager. She moved up here, and by that time she was about 75 years old. And that was in the 80s, in the early 80s. So at that time, and I don't know if you remember, but in the 80s, it was really a big thing to have your shows on during the day. So she would get up in the morning, and she would turn the TV on. And there was usually a game show on in the morning until her soap operas came on in the afternoon. And so you had Bob Barker in the morning, and then you had the game shows, and then you had the soap operas that went until the talk show circuit then came on after that. So you might have had Merv Griffin or whoever was going on at the time. Then you had that, and then she would watch that until the news came on. And then there was a good 2 or 3 hours. There was local news, and then there was national news. And then after that, there might have been another game show. And then there was primetime television. And primetime television went for 3 hours. So there was always something going on. She never really was into sitcoms, but she did like the dramas. So she would watch that. So she kind of had soap operas in the evening that she watched until she went to bed. And that television was on all day long. All day. And I used to go and help her. And because when she first moved, she was new, and she was 75, and she had quite a tremor by the time she came here, so she couldn't do some things. So I would go to her house, and I would help her decorate for Christmas, or help her do some fold her laundry, or help her make out her bills, or things like that she couldn't do because she couldn't write, or Christmas cards. And she was very adamant, no matter what happened, that those Christmas cards had to go out every year. So that was something that my grandmother would do. Or we would go down, and she was extremely competitive, and they were cutthroat pinochle games. We were just serious about it. And so she loved to also play Yahtzee. Again, cutthroat Yahtzee. She was just really into it, And so we would go. Her sister was worse, but she just seriously. So I would go down there, and I would help her. And one day I went down to help her, and I was going to help her in the garden. So I was in the house, and my father was one of those people that said, if you leave the room, shut the light off. If you're not watching the television, turn it off. So my grandmother and I were going to go outside to pull the weeds in her garden. So I just didn't think of it, went over to her television, and I shut it off. And that woman, you'd think it was a sin. Like I committed a sin right there in the middle of her living room, and she says, turn that back on. She was very gruff about it. I was like, I was really kind of shocked because she doesn't usually talk to me like that. When if we were doing something bad when we were kids, she would say it like that. But I was like, okay, I'll turn it back on. I was kind of a little frightened, so I turned it back on, and we went outside and we worked in the yard. I didn't think too much about it until a couple days ago. Days later, I was sitting in there doing something, helping with her, again, TV being on, and I just said, Grandma, I said, why do you have to have your TV on all day long? You're not even watching it. She would have it on when she was doing laundry, or she was washing her dishes in the kitchen, or she'd have it anything. She would be doing something in the other room, and she'd have the television on. I was like, well, Grandma, why do you have your television on all the time? You can turn it off. And she says, no, I hate it when it's quiet. I hate the silence. It keeps me company. And I was like, okay. But she was truly, truly uncomfortable with the silence. And she had grew up in a busy household. When she got married, she had family, she had her kids. And then when she moved here to Tacoma, she was alone for the first time. And the television was her company. The television was who she spent time with. And it was the noise in the background of her life. Our lives today are filled with noise. If you noticed that we were sitting here and we started hearing that there was some rumbling outside, that was a motorcycle. There's so much background noise from the cars, from our telephones. I mean, if you have a telephone, you have your notifications for your phone, your calls, your text, your whatever, fill in the blank. There is something to tell me specifically when to drink my water, which I ignore, by the way, because I got so many other noises to take care of that I'm just pushed through my life and pulled in directions because of the noises that we have all the time. One of the things that cell phones did for me that used to drive me a little crazy, I used to work, my first job ever was I worked in a veterinary hospital, and I did triage on the telephone. So I would call, and people would call about their injured pets. And that was my job, and I was to help them. They were always stressed and always scared, and there was always something terribly wrong. And so I got a little PTSD with the answering the phone. And so when I got a cell phone, I turned it off. It was the coolest thing. I didn't have to answer the phone anymore. I could just look to see, or I could have it vibrate instead of, I wasn't pulled to answer the phone. That wasn't what I had to do. I didn't have to do that. And so we have so many noises. My mother, she was hearing impaired, and she got surgeries to fix her hearing. And she said she practically went insane with the refrigerator sound. It was just, she had to move to a different room when the refrigerator was on, because it kicks on sometimes, and she couldn't do it. It just drive her crazy. So sounds are everywhere. Noise is everywhere. And we go through our lives being programmed by the noises that we hear. I know that when you're in the grocery store, for example, if you've ever been to the grocery store, and you probably heard me complain about this, but the grocery store, the music is so loud. The music is so loud on purpose. It's there to distract you, to keep you from paying attention to what it is you're buying. That is a tactic that they use to get you to buy more in the grocery store. That comes on, and that is in the background. You have the heat. For those of you out there can't hear that, but the heater just came on. And so there's always some noise in the background. And we get so used to it. We've gotten so used to all of the noises that we have. Do you know that there's a place that created a room that is so quiet that you cannot be in it for longer than 10 minutes? Your brain just cannot fathom that kind of silence. And 10 minutes is the most that anybody's ever been in that room. It is crazy how much we have, how much noise, how much background chatter and things go on in our lives. And we just go about our lives just like it's normal. But what he's asking us to do in the book is to take time for silence. And I think one of the most important things is to remember that silence is normal. You go out into the woods and go camping, and you go out there and you hear the little you hear the crickets going, but that's it. There's this echoing silence almost. That it just goes on and on. We've created this environment of noise, and it's been created for us by, media. I mean, you can't go home really without having something bombarding you, whether it be noise from this or like from the heater, or noise from the refrigerator, or noise from whatever. Or you go home and you turn your music on, which is great because I love music. But I also love the silence. And that bothers some people like it did my grandmother, really, to the point where she wouldn't sit in silence at all. And even when she eventually did end up going to a nursing home, she always had her TV or her radio on. She never sat in silence. And I often wonder what it was that she was afraid of in the silence. I never got a chance to ask her that. But sometimes silence is disconcerting, especially when we have it all the time. For me, I absolutely love the silence. I think it's the greatest thing. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert. Maybe it's because I had 3 children that were really loud and noisy, and now I just relish how much silence when I get silence. I just absolutely love it. And I work at Unity Worldwide Ministries, for those of you who don't know, and I work for the Spiritual Direction Program. I'm a mentor, and we have meetings. And one of the things that we do at the meeting is we sit in silence for an undetermined amount of time. We just sit there until we're done sitting in silence. And it's the greatest thing. It is so awesome. Once you get used to that quiet, when you feel the relief of letting go of the noise, there's nothing better than that. And I think we need to take time, and this is what this chapter is telling us about, is we need to take the time to connect with that silence within us. We need to learn to block out the noise and go within and go into that space of sacred silence within us. And that is what he talks about. He says the silence allows us to transcend this worldly place and go into a space that's called the imaginal realm. At least that's what the author calls it. A space where we can create, where we can see and find our potential. We're not distracted by the noises that we have around us. We have so many things within us that is waiting to be birthed, waiting to be seen and noticed, that we don't notice when there's so much noise distracting us. When we go into the silence, when we go into the quiet, that's when we can hear what it is our soul, our spirit is trying to tell us, trying to show us where we need to go next. And it's in that space that you can start to create what it is you want to experience out here. It comes from within. What we experience out here comes from what we create in here. So when we are in a space of quiet, we are connecting with that soul's purpose, that space that he calls the imaginal realm. He says at times of rest and times of retreat, times of pause really matter. There are opportunities for us to discover or rediscover that the threshold in silence into the imaginal realm is within us. And so we are connecting at that time when we sit and we're intentional and we block out everything out here. You're able to be, just be. You're not being pulled in one direction or another. You can just be. And with all the noise around us, you think, well, how am I going to get quiet? And there's so much going on. You can, because the quiet exists within you. When I first started meditation and my kids were really young, I really struggled with that because I couldn't get my kids to be quiet. And when they were quiet, then I was really worried about them. And so, seriously, it was hard for me to get into that quiet space. But eventually, I learned to block out the noise. I learned how to get quiet within myself and to take myself away from all the noise that was around me. When I first started teaching meditation, several years after that, I started off teaching meditation in silence. And I noticed how difficult it was for people to sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the quiet. So I said, okay, so let's add some music. So I added a little bit of music, and that made it a little bit more comfortable for them because they at least had something besides their own thinking that they were trying to get away from. And then later, I started using guided meditation to get them to that quiet space. So the music and the guiding into this space of silence worked really well. So if you need that to get into your silent space, whether you use music or use guided meditation to get you into that quiet space, those are wonderful tools to get there. But the silence is what you're working towards. When you are working towards getting into a meditative state, you are working towards the quiet within. We get so desperate for the next sound, the next word. We want to hear what's happening. We want to know what's going on. But if we stop and pull ourselves away from what's happening outside and we pull it within, you'll find that there's so much going on, so much better than what's going on out here right now. And then you can create what it is you would like to have and experience in your physical realm by going within that imaginal realm and getting into the silence, into the quiet, and just being. Just being quiet. It's hard when we have something that's been with us for so long. Sound has been with us. We use it. It's a tool. It's a wonderful thing. We need it. We need the silence. We need the quiet just as much. Just like he talked about it with the heartbeat. You have a heartbeat and then you have a pause. Your heart needs that pause in order to rest. So take the time to get into that space of quiet. Don't let the noise be your friend. Become your own friend inside yourself. Connect with the source within. You don't have to be distracted by the noise. You can go within and find and seek the comfort and the companionship that you need, that you're seeking with the noise that's around you, like my grandmother did. She didn't need to do that. All she needed to do was connect with her soul, with her spirit, and she would never be alone. The quiet is where it exists. And I implore you to please take time. Just a little time, even if it's a few minutes. Just to be quiet and to connect with your inner self. In a few minutes, we're going to go into meditation. And Stefan, hi. I'm going to pull Stefan up, and I'm going to have her do another song for us. But we're going to go into meditation. And he talks about it's not really a meditation. It's more of a prayer and a meditation. So we're going to go into a prayer and meditation that he used in the book that I think that will be really important before we go into our pet blessing, which Victoria is going to help me with.
Okay. I have a song for the pets.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a cappella, actually. I have the words on my phone. I look up and I see God. I look down and see my dog. Simple spelling, G-O-D. Same word backwards, D-O-G. They would stay with me all day. I'm the one who walks away. But both of them just wait for me and dance at my return with glee. Both love me no matter what. divine God and canine mutt. I take it hard each time I fail, but God forgives, dog wags his tail. God thought up and made the dog, dog reflects a part of God. I've seen love from both sides now, it's everywhere, amen, bow wow. I look up and I see God, I look down and see my dog, and in my human frailty, I can't match their love for me.
Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, with that, that just warms everybody's heart, I swear. Okay, we'll go into that in a minute, and then I'll go teary-eyed then. So we're going to go into a space of meditation. And he invites us to get into a space where we are available, that you're open. He invites us to imagine ourselves in a space where we are creative, where we are playful, and there is so much possibility. And when we get into this space, a space of quiet and knowing within us, there's a commitment to imagining what love would be like that included justice, responsibility, and true care for our fellow beings. And when we pray, when we're in this space of meditation, we can imagine all the blessings. You can visualize them as rose petals that are falling down around you, all the blessings pouring over you, filled with love. And it's in this place of peace and love that you can imagine healing for the sick, and comfort for those who are feeling sorrow, peace for those who are anxious, trust for those who are fearful, and compassion for those who are lonely. It's in this space that we can imagine all the ways that God calls us to be a blessing in the world. We can imagine a world where people work together, where they foster peace and justice, and they work to dismantle racism, sexism, homophobia, and all forms of systemic oppression, and where equality and inclusivity are both celebrated and protected. And from this deep place within us, we can imagine feeling and experiencing and truly knowing the love of Spirit that dwells within. And that Spirit cares for me and all others. And we can imagine that presence within our hearts. And that presence gives us all of the gifts that we have. All the things that we need to live our lives. Those things that give us meaning and purpose. within this space, we say thank you. Thank you for all that we have, all that we will experience, all the lessons that we've learned, good and bad. Being grateful to have the wherewithal to let go of the things that no longer serve us, and the passion to move forward in a direction that serves us best. We are so grateful, grateful for all that we have and all the people that we know. And we say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, thank you. And as we end this meditation, we take a breath. And we notice our heartbeats. It beats and then it pauses. It beats and pauses. And it's during that time of pause that Spirit is working to help you to rest. Take another breath. And bring your awareness back to this space, opening your eyes when you're ready. And we're going to have Stefan, who's going to sing us another song. Before we go into our pet blessing, we're going to do that
next. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, all is holy. of heaven, breath of
Thank you. That was lovely. Wow. We're going to go into the portion of our service where we are going to bless our pets. And I'm going to invite Victoria to come up. But as she's coming up, I want to first announce, which I meant to announce this morning earlier, and I did not, this lovely art piece right here. So we started out, for those of you in Faith in Action, we are doing the different colors. Last week it was purple. This week it is blue, and this was created by Linda Small. So I just wanted to point that out. The indigo, I'm sorry, indigo, it is blue, but it's next week is blue. This is indigo, so thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to have Victoria come up, and she's going to help me with the pet blessing today, because she provided a wonderful reading that I thought it would be appropriate if she, would you like, yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. My director will dictate where you go. Okay.
Well, I was trying to do the indigo thing, don't you know? How do I put into words the love I felt for you the minute I saw you? Your sweet little face with those melty brown eyes found the sweet spot in my heart. I cuddled you in my arms and you snuggled into my neck, hugging me. You were overflowing with love to give. I wanted to take you home, but you had a home. I was just a visitor. In quiet moments, you'd dance in my mind. How is Annabelle doing? I'd ask at every opportunity. One day, several months later, the report was not so good. You needed more attention. Separation anxiety had moved in and become your occupation. In your frustration, you'd turned into a destructive terror that could not be contained. Would you like to have her? She's more than I can handle, was the plea. I was sad for you and her, but my heart leaped with joy. Arrangements were made, and you came home to me. The change terrified you, but loving bonded us together where constraints could not. We had to start fresh, relearning those baby skills and doing a lot of catching up. Patience was the word of the day for us both. Now you had instant family with siblings and me. You adapted well and became my shadow. Your bad behaviors quickly left, and we were replaced by your latent talents. In your world, as in mine, you'd never met a stranger. You were smart as a whip and followed directions well. You aimed to please at each new situation, but you also had a mind of your own. You quickly morphed from the formal Annabelle to the loving and giddy Annie Bell. Soon you accompanied me to work as a visitor. You were asked to perform tasks. Passing each one, you were hired too. Now you were not just my fur baby, according to today's language, but you were a therapy dog. You were so proud and pranced as only a miniature long-haired black dappled dachshund could, wearing your assortment of scarf accessories. You were just where you wanted to be, my constant companion, meeting and loving lots of new people. You dove right into daily life in the memory care unit, learning and making friends with each resident. Seldom could they remember your name, so they gave you names from their fond memories of long ago. Mine Shotzi, you announced. She announced. I start over. Mine Shotzi, you announced as you. She announced as you leaped into her open arms and continued, when I came here, she couldn't come with me. This lady took her home and promised to bring her to visit. And here she is. We obliged her. You quickly learned that when you had to go potty, You merely had to sit under the motion detector door alarm until we heard you. And we'd let you out into the courtyard. You'd do your duty and race back to your job. Oops. You were a star at our intergenerational Halloween party, dressed in your pale pink satin tooled ballet costume with the sparkles and red roses embroidered on it. The pale pink satin hat festooned with more rosebuds set off the ensemble. You were, quite frankly, a little abashed at the entire idea, but went with it, bringing the joy that was your nature. Transitions are part and parcel among a group of elders. The nursing staff and I soon learned that your sensitivities to each person gifted you with knowing when new journeys were beginning. You never were on tables or beds, that was the rule. But at these times, you would join the person on their bed, keeping vigil. You'd remain there, bringing comfort until they passed. It was uncanny that you would know, usually before anyone else, and take action. Every day, you made your rounds to each room, to each resident, before and after we started our shift in the activity room. You truly were a distinct member of the staff with duties and routines all your own. I had no idea when I met you as a puppy that afternoon, the multitude of gifts that you would so unconditionally give to all of those you'd meet. Indeed, the universe had a plan, and we got to be the players. You bring joy and love wherever you are. My sweet Annabelle Angel, loving you always, Mom.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. You know, when we bring our pets into our home, we know that the time is limited. We know when we bring them home as puppies or kittens, or when we adopt them, we bring them home and know that we're going to have to say goodbye someday. But we know that the love that they will give, the experience that we'll have with them is worth every moment that we have with them. And we know that when the time comes, in the end, that it'll be right, and we'll be there, and it'll be part of our lives. And transition, moving from one thing to another, is all we really can count on. And our pets remind us of how beautiful you can be in the moments that we're here. I am so blessed to hear that story. I also had I've had several wonderful pets I'm going to cry. I've had several wonderful pets in my life. And I now have a little kitty named Georgia, and she is everything to me. And I'm just blessed to be able to take the time today to do a pet blessing for everyone and everyone's pets and everyone's in the community and everyone in the world. And it's just not pets. St. Francis was not just about pets, because when he was alive, they had a lot of livestock, and they had pets in nature and all that, and everything. When St. Francis was alive, he was so into caring for the animals. That St. Francis Day, which was earlier this week, is focused on blessing the animals. So today we're going to bless our animals. And for those of you that are here, you might have brought in pictures on your phone, or you might have physical pictures. You might just have them in your mind's eye. But I would like you to bring your pets to your vision, to your consciousness, right here, right now. And even though they're not here in present, they're in beautiful, cute pictures, we are here to bless them because they're always in our hearts, no matter where they are. And so I'd like us to get into a space of prayer as we do a pet blessing for everyone, all the pets that we know, including ours. Take a breath. And we're going to do a loving kindness meditation for our pets that allows us to bless each and every one of them. And when it's time to do a blessing, please bring to your mind's eye your pets, whether you say their names or you decide you want to bring up their picture, whatever it is. When I say that, I say bring up your pet's name, you bring them up, and then you say the blessing with me. All right. I want you to think of your pet's name and say, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. And just hold that for just a minute. Holding them in the light of love of God and of our spirits. Knowing that they mean so much to us. They bring us so much joy, laughter, and sometimes pain. But it's worth every minute. They are joys. They are little lights in this world. We're so grateful. Again, bring up their name and say, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. And hold on to their little spirits as we bring our attention out into the community, to all the dogs that walk by here, to all the cats that live behind probably, that wander around that we don't see, or the critters that get into the trash can back here, like there's probably raccoons and all kinds of things that get in there. And they need our blessing too. They struggle each and every day. But they do it every day and they survive and they thrive. So let's just bring them to our attention, to those animals that are around us. And then we say to them, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. And expanding beyond our neighborhood, expanding out into the world, all of the animals, whether they be domesticated or wild, knowing that they are living their lives the best way that they can. And we're just going to send them some loving kindness, some blessing and love and light in this moment when we say, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. And just bring your awareness back to your own pet, to that loving little creature that lives with you, or creatures if you have more than one. And just surround them with a bubble of light, a bubble of love, because they do the same for us each and every day. They hold us in such regard, high esteem. Even my cat, who kind of looks at us and loves us, kind of, sometimes, when she's ready. They are the joys of our lives, and we're so grateful for them. May they be happy, may they be healthy, may they be safe, and may they live with ease. Amen. I want to thank you for taking that time to be able to bless them. Let's see how much time we have left. I'm going to have Victoria come up and do the announcements, and then we're going to go into our benediction. The lovely Indigo.
This is good. Next Sunday, October 15th, is our third Sunday of Faith in Action. Our color is blue. Today was indigo. Next week is blue. Our musical guest will be David Rebecki. In 2 weeks, October 22nd at 10 a.m., We will have Cindy Akana as our guest speaker with musical guest Christine S. Young. Pull out your costumes for our Halloween Sunday, October 29th at 10 a.m. Our musical guest will be Nicola Lindy. We continue our Zoom book club study for Faith in Action this Tuesday, October 10th at 6:30 p.m. We'll be discussing Chapter 2. If you are interested in being part of the book study, let Reverend Lori know after church today or by email at Lori@unityoftacoma.org. The book is called Eternal Heart by Carl McColman. I want to thank everyone from Unity of South Sound and for those of you from Unity of Tacoma who attended the memorial for Reverend Deborah Olive yesterday. It was a beautiful time of sharing memories of Deborah and meant a whole lot to a whole lot of people. Our Unity of Tacoma outreach program, sandwich making and lunch making for the unhomed, will be next Saturday, October 14th. We made a change this month, so next Saturday, the second Saturday, just for October 14th at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. And for those of you who would like to give to what we're doing here at Unity of Tacoma, you can go to our website, you can go to our Facebook page, you can give via Zelle or using our telephone number, or you can mail us a check. If you're here in the building and want to give to what we're doing here at Unity of Tacoma, we have a prosperity box in the back, so you can go ahead and give there if you so please. All right, so I would like to send us off with a benediction. And I thought because we were working with St. Francis today, let's go off with the prayer of St. Francis. So let us pray. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, and to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in the dying that we are born to eternal life. And so it is. Amen. I'm going to invite Stephen to come back and guide us in our final song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Please stand if you can. If you're unable to, sit like me, and we will just sing out loud.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our center, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Have an
Thank
awesome
you.
day.